let's begin with the Indiana Hoosiers, Zach. They add Kellen Wyatt and the Maryland transfer, Kellen Wyatt, and the Kent State transfer, Stephan Daley. I think it might be Stephan. I apologize if I misspelled that. But Zach, to me, these are two pretty huge additions for Indiana. I knew they needed an edge, and so Kellen Wyatt was a good one to go after there. We did not talk. This is like a week old. We didn't talk about it, but I need to make sure we did talk about it. So I just went ahead and put it on the schedule for this one. And then some people are kind of underrating Stephan Daley a little bit, but
Hmm.
Stephan Daley was at Kent State actually with CJ West, who was just a fourth round draft pick in the NFL. So, I mean, just because they're from Kent State, as Zach knows, just because they're from Kent State doesn't mean they can't play in the NFL. Two huge additions in my mind. I'll read their stats from this past year really fast, and then I'll turn it over to Zach. Kellen Wyatt had 30 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in 11 games last year, while Stephan Daley had 51 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. Good statistics from these two players, Zach. What are your thoughts?
Hmm. Well, I think first of all, getting more depth at the defensive line is always a win, especially when you are a team like Indiana, who, while they have done a good job of building that roster, they still need depth. Like that, I think is what was one of the things that killed them as they got late into the season. Obviously, they need elite talent to compete with elite teams. Like that's, I think, another big thing. But to get depth, and these are good players, right? Like Stephan Daley, who's underrated, 3-star prospect in the transfer portal, good stats. Again, we can make fun of him all we want from being from Kent State, but this is a good player, and having him come in, having a replacement for CJ West and Kellen Wyatt, both underrated players, I think, and I think this bodes well. Again, Curt Cignetti knows how he wants to build his team, right? We joked last year that they were the group of 5 all-stars. They're elevating, right? They got Mendoza. That's not a group of 5 all-star. That is a potential
Are
like
we sure the
all Big Ten
ACC
player.
isn't Group of Five
That you
then?
stop that. I know we like to give stuff to the ACC. Save it for the SEC stink segment.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
that's coming up. Don't worry, that's
yeah.
coming up.
But in all seriousness, like they've elevated, and yet they're still sticking to their roots of getting and cherry picking some of the best group of 5 players to build their roster. I think it's great.
I agree. I want to know how long this is going to be sustainable, right? How long is Curt Cignetti going to continue to be able to go out and get guys who have 1 or 2 years of eligibility left and bring them in? Obviously, he's done it this year. It's probably going to happen again, or it happened last year. These guys are probably going to work out similarly, if not the same, as last year, this year. So I'm confident in that. But as far as I'm concerned, like as long as Cignetti is recruiting, so that way he doesn't have to do this all the time, like that's a win. And from everything, it looks like he is. I mean, we haven't talked a ton about Indiana recruiting, but they just went on a tear of getting like 3 or 4 guys in a row this
Yep.
past week, so they're doing just fine there. But as far as I'm concerned, like this is the kind of stuff you need to happen in order to turn a bottom dweller school into one of the best schools in the conference. And when I say
Yep.
one of the best schools in the conference, I mean top 5, top 6. And right now, with everything Indiana's doing, I don't see a reason to believe they're not going to be a top 5, top 6 team in this conference. You know,
Yep.
their record's going to be a little bit worse than it was last year just because the schedule isn't the same. They have tougher teams to play throughout, but this team could be just as good talent wise and with who they were, maybe even better than they were last year, especially with these additions. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The thing with that too, the sustainability piece, you have to remember that he came in with a plan to start with the transfer portal. That I think the goal is shifted over time. And you're already seeing that. You alluded to this, but their recruiting is starting to take shape. And so they didn't have a top 25 class, but it was in the top 40. And currently they're in the top 40, and they're not I think they will finish better this year than they did a year ago with the way that he's been able to recruit so far. So I think that is the key though, is can he get homegrown, not homegrown talent, just start to be seen as a developer of talent and not just a cherry picker.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm looking up the commitments really fast. So in the 2026 class, I mean, Indiana already has two 4 stars committed. They have an athlete and Henry Olinger, 6'1", 210. I mean, he's a linebacker from Columbus, Ohio. Went to Columbus, Ohio, got a 4-star prospect out of Grandview Heights. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Now, I follow Ohio State recruiting pretty close. This guy's never really been mentioned, so I don't think Ohio State was after him. But the same thing happened with Victor Singleton when he went to Illinois, and we gave Illinois a ton of praise for that one.
Yep.
Linebacker, running back, John says. So thank you, John. So like we're gonna give them a ton of praise here too. I think Victor Singleton was a higher rated player, but that doesn't take anything away from Henry Olinger and what he can be. Because let's be honest, like Indiana wasn't recruiting like this before. Tom Allen got a few good guys here and there, but Indiana wasn't doing this before.
Yep.
Casimir Hicks, 2026 guy out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I mean, Indiana has more talent than I think some people give them credit for. Ohio
Yep.
State has dipped into Indiana and got some talent before. Guess where they're not going right now for talent as much? Indiana, because Ohio State sees that the talent in Indiana is not leaving the state as much, with Indiana recruiting well and Notre Dame recruiting well too.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just not doing it right now. Ohio State's kind of cherry picking from New Jersey, which stinks for Rutgers, but
Yep.
that's what Ohio State has tried to do. So, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you go over to states that are next to you that have good 4-star talent, cherry pick those guys. You come into your own state, number one player in the state of Indiana, Casimir Hicks. Get him, lock him in. He's your guy. I love it. Curt
Yep.
Cignetti is doing great. I just wish Curt Cignetti was younger so we could see it for longer. I have no idea how long this is gonna last.
Yep.
So
Hey, Nick Saban went till he was in his 70s. So
that's true. That's true. Maybe Curt Cignetti does the same thing. I hope he does. I want Curt Cignetti around as long as possible at this point.